I like the new music. Oh, this is good. I like it. Here we go.
Good evening. It is Thursday, June 3rd, and you are looking at a live view of Falcon 9 as it awaits its 9:25 p.m. Eastern Time launch from Cape Canaveral Space Launch Complex 40 in Florida.
All right.
Hello from SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California.
As
My
you
name is
can
Jesse
see
Anderson,
here,
and I'm a lead
obviously.
manufacturing engineer here at SpaceX. You're watching a live webcast for our 8th Starlink mission and our 9th mission this year. To date, we've launched over 420 Starlink satellites to orbit. As a reminder, Starlink is a constellation of satellites that can provide high-speed, low-latency internet all over the globe, particularly in remote or rural areas where connectivity is limited or completely unavailable. This latest launch comes on the heels of our historical first launch of humans over the weekend. In case you missed it, we'll give you a quick update on that later in the broadcast. At T-minus 9 minutes, all systems are go for an on-time liftoff this evening. And if for any reason there is a hold on the countdown today, we have a backup launch window opportunity tomorrow at 9:04 p.m. Eastern. You're looking at a live view of Falcon 9, our 70-meter two-stage liquid-fueled launch vehicle, getting ready for launch from Space Launch Complex 40, or SLIC 40. This booster will be flying for the 5th time today. It previously supported the Telstar 18 Vantage
5 times,
mission, Iridium 8, and the first Starlink mission.
Didn't work out so
well
well last time. It was 5 times.
The bottom 2/3 of the vehicle is the first stage. You can see the soot markings from left over from its last flight. And the first stage accelerates the vehicle through the Earth's atmosphere into space with the help of 9 Merlin engines at the base of the rocket. Today, we will be attempting to recover the first stage for the 5th time, which, if we are successful, would be the first 5th landing of a Falcon 9 booster. Today, we are using our drone ship, Just Read the Instructions, which was our very first drone ship, and opposed to our more commonly used drone ship, Of Course I Still Love You, since it was currently occupied by our Demo 2 Falcon 9 booster up until last night from this past weekend's exciting historical launch. Just Read the Instructions is currently stationed about 350 nautical miles northeast of the Cape and about 200 nautical miles east of Charleston. Above the first stage is the second stage, which has a single Merlin vacuum or MVAC engine, which ignites after the first stage separates. The second stage is what will carry the Starlink satellites into an elliptical orbit above the Earth's surface. From there, they will use their propulsion system to move up to their operational altitude of 550 kilometers. And Falcon 9 has been loading propellant since T-minus 35 minutes. And as a reminder, we use a rocket-grade kerosene, or RP1, as our fuel, and super chilled liquid oxygen, or LOX, as our oxidizer to power Falcon 9. And currently, RP1 and LOX are nearly fully loaded on both stages, and LOX will continue to be topped off right until the last minute of the countdown. The stack of 60 satellites is safely enclosed inside of the 17-foot diameter payload fairing, which you can see on your screen. That's that pointed structure at the very top of the rocket. This protects the satellites from the aerothermal heating, aerodynamic loads, and contamination during ascent. But once we reach the vacuum of space, we no longer need them, so we will jettison the fairing as the second stage continues on its journey to orbit. We will be attempting to recover the fairing halves today using our recovery ships Miss Tree and Miss Chief. At approximately T+40 minutes, the team will perform a poll to confirm if we're all good to make a catch attempt. I don't think they've ever cut one in the dark before. And weather plays a factor as well as telemetry of the fairing, its altitude, position, and speed. And we were watching some thick clouds earlier, making sure that we are good for weather, just like we did in last week's launch, Demo 2 launch, constantly checking on the weather. But today, we are currently go for weather at T0. So with that, the vehicle, satellites, weather, and range are all looking good for an on-time liftoff just about 5.5 minutes from now. And as I mentioned at the top of the broadcast, we are coming off an amazing weekend with the SpaceX and NASA teams successfully launching the dads, NASA astronauts Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley, to the International Space Station. Our second demonstration mission, or what we call
Yep.
Demo 2, lifted off from historic Launch Pad 39A at Kennedy Space Center on Saturday, May 30th, and 19 hours later docked with the International Space Station. The mission marks the first time a commercially built spacecraft has launched people to the space station, and the first time in nearly 10 years that the U.S. has launched astronauts into space from U.S. soil. The video that you see on your screen is Bob and Doug floating around in orbit, giving us a tour of their Dragon spacecraft, which they named Endeavour to commemorate the huge efforts made by the SpaceX team, as well as a nod to the first shuttle that they both flew on. Demo 2 is an end-to-end
Couldn't quite
flight
tell
test
where that
from
was.
launch to docking to splashdown. It is the final major milestone for SpaceX's human spaceflight system to be certified by NASA for operational crew missions to and from the International Space Station. While Bob and Doug certainly had the best seats for the Demo 2 launch, they weren't the only ones to try their hand at docking Dragon to the space station. We recently released the same simulation that the astronauts trained on in advance of the Demo 2 mission.
Maybe I should do that
Head
after
over
this.
to iss-sim.spacex.com to give it a try yourself. That simulation, the displays in Crew Dragon, and a bunch of other really cool projects were developed by SpaceX software engineers. Software engineers at SpaceX get to work across exciting projects that drive our rockets, spacecraft, satellites, and ground systems. If you're interested in helping roll out Starlink to the world or taking humanity to the moon and Mars, send your resume to softwarejobs@spacex.com. We will also be setting up a Reddit Ask Me Anything, or AMA, with our software team in the next week or so stay tuned to our social media accounts for details on that. Once Demo 2 is complete, the SpaceX and NASA teams have reviewed all the data for certification. NASA astronauts Victor Glover, Mike Hopkins, Shannon Walker, and JAXA astronaut Soichi Noguchi have been assigned to fly on Dragon's first 6-month operational mission, which we're calling Crew 1, which is targeted for later this year. We are currently 2.5 minutes from liftoff, and Falcon 9 is now moving into the final stages of the countdown. The first and
It's hard
second
for me to
stages are
say
both
anything,
nearly
which
fully
is-
loaded with 1 million pounds of
Got
kerosene
it covered
fuel
pretty
and
much.
liquid oxygen. Super chilled liquid oxygen, which, as I mentioned earlier, is our propellant oxidizer, is what's creating those white clouds that you see around Falcon 9 when it's exposed to the warmer ambient air. You can see that on your screen there. First stage should finish prop loading, actually already had.
You can see the strong back protected about 2.5 degrees.
2 minutes.
That system moved
At
away
T-minus 60 seconds, Falcon
as
9
preparation
will be in
is
startup,
is
and
arming
that
it
means that
in
the
order to
rocket's
throw back
autonomous internal
all the
flight
way
computers
lift
have
off.
taken over the launch countdown. So with the Starlink
It
payload
throws all the way back in order
continuing
to
be
keep
healthy,
the
F9 teams,
propellant feed
Falcon 9
lines
teams
and
are
power
tracking no
umbilicals and
issues on the
everything
rocket.
safe from the rocket
Weather
exhaust.
is still looking good, and the range is green for launch. So we are at T-minus 1.5 minutes from liftoff. And again, in about 30 seconds, Falcon 9 will be in startup. What this means is that the vehicle will basically be autonomously making its decision if it will continue with liftoff at T0.
Coming up on startup. As she said, that's when the vehicle goes to fully internal power and is fully in autonomous mode. Meaning that it is everything by its own, but the people on the ground have the
And there's that call out that
have the
Falcon
ability
9
to
is
take
in
to
startup.
stop it if they need to.
Go for launch.
And at T-minus 45 seconds, there was that call out for go for launch. Again, that was the Falcon 9 rocket making that decision autonomously. Now we are T-minus 30 seconds from liftoff of our Starlink payload tonight.
They don't usually keep
So let's listen
commentary
in
all the
and
way up
watch
to 30
liftoff.
seconds. Anyway, you'll see it launch in about 15 seconds now, and
T-minus 15 seconds.
after that you'll wait. I think it's about a minute until maximum dynamic
9,
pressure.
8, 7, 6.
That's when it's the atmosphere is compressing against the rocket.
2, 1,
Is the most
ignition.
on its ascent.
Liftoff.
Falcon 9 pushing down range.
I see it's already up to 300 kilometers per hour. Max Q should be about 45 seconds to a minute. Maybe a little more than a minute.
We are T plus 40 seconds into flight, and Falcon 9 has successfully
As I said,
lifted
that's when
off
it's
from pad 40
pushing
at
against
Cape
the
Canaveral
atmosphere.
Air Force Station, carrying our
The most
Starlink
on the way
payload
up.
to its targeted drop-off orbit. Moments ago, we did throttle down our engines in preparation for Max Q, and that is the maximum aerodynamic pressure, which is the largest structural load that the vehicle will see. That's coming up here in a few seconds.
It looks like this is in the clouds now. Got the onboard now. Going through
Max Q.
Max Q now.
And there's that call out that we have just passed through Max Q. In about a minute, we will have 3 events happening back to back. The first of which will be main engine cutoff, or MECO. This is where all 9 M1D engines shut off to slow the vehicle down in preparation for the second event, which is stage separation. Stage separation is
And
where the
fairings
first stage
will come off.
separates from the second stage, with the first stage starting to make its way back to Earth for landing, and stage 2 continuing on its journey, with the third event called
This is the fifth
SES1,
launch of
or
this
second
particular
engine
vehicle.
start one.
I forget.
And that's where the
I
MVAC
never bothered
engine
to learn
lights up
which
on the second
vehicle
stage
this
and
was.
propels the second stage along with the Starlink satellites to its drop-off orbit.
what the particular tail number for this booster is, but
We are at T plus 2 minutes and 5 seconds, so we're just about 25 seconds away from
possibly
those 3 events.
105.1.
Again, that is MECO,
although I'm not
stage
sure.
separation, and SES1, or second engine start 1.
Or 104.9. One of the two, I think. It's either 104.9 or 105.1. Probably wrong. You can see the ice formed on the outside of the nozzle extension there.
MECO.
Stage separation confirmed.
That's not the outside of the nozzle extension there, it's just the ring there. But won't be ice for much longer.
And there you can see on your screen, on the left screen, we had main engine cutoff and stage separation. On your right screen is the second stage MVAC engine lighting up, glowing bright red there. And it is a bit dark on the East Coast, but
No
you
kidding.
can see on your left
It's
screen that first stage, those
9:30
grid fins
PM.
are deploying.
Fairings
And on
gonna
your
come
right
off
screen, we
shortly.
have fairing deploy coming
There
up
they are.
here.
Separation confirmed.
And there is that confirmation of fairing deploy. Now let's see if those fairing halves can be recovered by our recovery ships, Mystery and Mischief today.
The drone ship
Again,
is
we won't have that live. That will happen around T plus
about
40 minutes. So
500 to
check in
600
with our
kilometers
social media
downrange.
accounts for updates on those fairing
about
halves.
the same amount of distance as the as with the normal geostationary satellite landings.
And stage 2 still looking nominal. Again, that is what you see on your right screen.
Right
Stage
now what
1
it's doing
is
is
making its way back.
slowly reorienting itself so that it'll
And
hit the
as the
atmosphere
first
engine
stage makes
first.
its way back to Earth, it will perform 2 burns, the first of which will be the
Time
entry
isn't
burn,
really necessary
and
in
that
this
is where 3
particular
of the 9 M1D
situation. I
engines
mean, you still have to get
reignite,
it turned around
and this
before it
helps
hits the
slow the
atmosphere, but
vehicle
it's not.
down as it
It doesn't
re-enters
need to go
back
as fast
into
as it
the
does
upper part
for,
of the
say,
Earth's
a
atmosphere.
return to launch site
And
landing. where it
finally
needs
will
to
be the second and
quickly
final
flip around
burn
and
is the
ignite
landing
the
burn.
engines.
And this is a single engine burn. That's the center E9 engine that reignites and brings the vehicle all the way down, very, very rapidly slows the vehicle down so that it can touch down and land on the drone ship. Again, we are attempting to land the first stage today on just read the instructions. as our Of Course I Still Love You drone ship was
very standard
occupied with her
mission.
Demo 2 vehicle from over the weekend
Vehicles
up
on
until
nominal
last night.
trajectory.
This is what, the 8th one so far? The 7 operational missions and the first demo mission. Entry burn will be happening shortly.
We are at T plus 5
I really wish
and
they'd
a
give us
half
stage 1
minutes.
telemetry, but
Stage
that's
2
fine.
still looking nominal. And first stage making its way back. That first burn, that entry burn, will be coming up in about a minute from now, around T plus 6 minutes and 45 seconds. And that entry burn will last about 20 seconds long. Again, that is to slow the vehicle down as it re-enters back into the Earth's atmosphere.
Conversely, for DM2, the entry burn was like 35 seconds long, which was abnormally long for one of these entry burns. But they had the margins, and if you've seen the booster after it came back
Stage
in,
2
it
on your
looks in
right
great
screen,
shape.
still on a
So,
nominal trajectory. And on your left screen, it is a little bit dark. It is
oh, what was that?
nighttime on the East Coast, but we should see that screen light up with those
I
with that
think that's
entry burn.
RCS through the
Those
grid
3
fin.
engines reigniting.
Stage 1 FTS has saved.
Got some re-entry heating going on.
Stage 1 entry burn has started.
And there you hear that call out, as well as a visual confirmation that those engines have reignited.
Watch it dropping down to single engine.
Vehicle continues to follow a nominal trajectory.
Well, you couldn't
And
quite see it when it
stage
dropped
1
down to
entry
single
burn
engine.
shut
but-
down.
And confirmation that the stage 1 entry burn is
But it did.
complete, as well
goes-
as stage
it
2
starts
still
one engine
looking
first,
nominal. You heard that
Then it
call
ignites
out.
2 outer ones, which is the re-entry heating going on. Then it cuts off the 2 outer ones, go back to a single one. It does that for fine control.
Coming up
Yeah, this
next
one's
is the
gonna come back a
landing
little bit
burn
toasty, isn't
around
it?
T plus 8.5 minutes, around 8 minutes and 24 seconds.
Saw the
Looks like we lost that live view
sparks
of
coming
the
off
first
the-
stage
the,
coming down, but that
engine
is
section.
expected. So
thermal
hopefully we
protection.
can get that live view back.
The
right
re-entry
now
Stage
heating.
you're
1 is
seeing-
transonic.
It's still up to
Right
telemetry,
now
that's
what you're
good.
seeing on your left screen is the drone ship just read the instructions.
Transonic means it's only a few seconds away from landing.
Followed very closely after the landing burn and landing of the first stage will be SECO 1, that is second engine cutoff, around T plus 8 minutes and 58 seconds.
That's where they cut off the second stage engine for insertion into the, well, I guess the insertion orbit for the Starlink satellites.
Stage 1 landing
Oh, you
burn
can
has
see.
started.
Landing burn start. Lit up everything.
Terminal guidance.
Let's see if they can get it.
Landing legs have deployed.
Stage 2 FTS has saved.
Ooh. Oh, it didn't cut out. What the heck?
And wow, as you saw coming
And
down,
JRTI,
that
we have a
first
stage 1
stage
landed.
Falcon
Landing
9
operators moving to procedure 11.100
Impressive.
on
Not even
recovery
buffering.
1 and
That was
CF9.
smooth.
amazing, that first stage booster has landed for the first time, for the 5th time for a Falcon 9 booster. That is amazing. We're waiting for second stage engine cut off. What an amazing view of that first stage coming down, even though it was dark and night. But those engines lighting up
Didn't
the
even
screen,
buffer.
watching first stage come down was an
Nominal orbit
amazing
insertion.
view. And we heard a call out of good orbit for second stage.
Acquisition of signal, Newfoundland.
And
All right.
now that second stage is going to, now that second stage is in a good orbit, it's going to coast for a few minutes. And during this time, it will start to spin along its central axis.
Wow, thanks. I was
Giving
literally
the
about to say
Starlink
that.
satellites the
Expected
momentum that they
velocity
need
signal.
to space themselves
whatever.
out over time after they deploy. So we will take a quick break
It's
and
gonna
return back
spit
here
up. It's
at
gonna.
T plus
It's just
14
RCS
minutes.
to start spinning in the longitudinal axis. How could I demonstrate that? Like you're gonna see the Earth spinning underneath it, or not spinning. The Earth spinning, but it's gonna be spinning and revolving. And then when it's time to deploy, all they do is like release one bolt, and then they'll all just kind of float off. And then they'll each take control and get into their orbital spots. Let's go back and see that landing. That was cool.
Back.
Here we go. Watch it light up the entire area.
Coming up next is the landing burn around T plus 8.5 minutes. Around 8 minutes and 24 seconds. Looks like we lost that live view of the first stage coming down, but that is expected. So hopefully we can get that live
I've seen
view
one of
back.
these things in person.
Right
it's
now what
Stage
you're
bright.
seeing-
transonic.
They're really bright.
Right now
It
what you're
lights up
seeing on your left
everything.
screen is the drone ship
Exactly
just read
as
the
you see here.
instructions. Followed very closely after the landing burn and landing of the first stage will be SECO 1, that is second engine cutoff, around T plus 8 minutes and 58 seconds.
Come on, where is it? It's just
Stage
yeah, there
one
it is.
landing burn has started.
Terminal guidance.
And you can see it getting lower because the
Landing legs have
brightness
deployed.
comes,
Stage 2
the
FTSS
area
saved.
brightness diminishes. I can't believe it. They didn't lose video.
And wow, as you saw coming
And
down,
JRTI, we
that
have a
first
stage one
stage
landed.
Falcon
Landing
9
operators moving to procedure 11.100 on
Didn't even buffer.
recovery 1 and DCF 9.
Falcon-
Landing legs have deployed.
Stage 2 FTSS saved.
and wow, as you saw coming
And
down,
JRTI,
that
we have a
first
stage one
stage
landed.
Falcon
Landing
9
operators moving to procedure
See some
11.100 on recovery 1
probably
and
lots
DCF 9.
fall out, catch
amazing,
fire.
that first stage booster has landed for the first time, for the 5th time
Well,
for a
lots wouldn't
Falcon
catch
9
fire, but
booster.
whatever.
That is amazing. We're waiting for second stage engine cut off. What an amazing view of that first stage coming down, even though it was dark and night, but those engines
Let's
light.
see if they've started. Not yet. Let's go back and watch the launch then. Come on. Don't do this to me.
Seven, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1,
Yeah,
0.
it was a good launch. Let's see.
Liftoff.
Falcon 9 fishing down range.
It's always a double-edged sword, these night launches. You get to see the engine pulling real nice, but you don't get to see the vehicle itself.
We are T plus 40 seconds into flight, and Falcon
Oh.
9 has successfully
Looks like-
adding a
Here we
deployable
go.
visor to the satellite to block sunlight from hitting the brightest parts of the spacecraft.
They probably already spun it up.
Now let's
Let's see if
listen
Earth spins
that
into
call-out for
view.
payload deploy.
Oh, it wouldn't. You wouldn't be able to see it because night. But
And again, the first unit with the sun visor is actually on this payload right here that you see in front of you.
I can see the moon there. Moon's got light. Bouncing off it, you can see how it's spinning.
Payload deploy confirmed.
Huh. Never seen that piece come off,
And
but
there is that confirmation. We got a live view as it was deploying from the vehicle. Those Starlink satellites are making their way, separating from second stage right in front of you right now. Shortly, they will deploy their solar array, and over the next few days and weeks, they will distance themselves from each other and use their onboard ion thrusters to make their way to their operational orbit. And also, just to note, tomorrow is June 4th. That was actually the anniversary of our first Falcon flight. 10-year anniversary of our first flight. So very exciting time. First Falcon 9 flight. So very, very exciting times.
that would have been Falcon 9 1.0 with a mock-up Dragon capsule.
And that brings our webcast to a close. Follow our website and social media platforms for updates on our next missions and milestones. And as the work goes on to build a
COTS
better,
Demo 1,
more
I believe.
exciting future, please stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you at the next launch.
Alright, that'll do it for that. So I'm going to end this here so we can do something else on a different VOD. Alright, stand by.